Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, February 24th. We've got a really interesting segment for you today. Dr. David Newman is with us, and we are going to deal with phobias. Good to have you here.
Thanks,
David.
It's great.
Now, give us the explanation of what a phobia consists of.
Okay, well, everybody knows what a fear is, and that's something that we're just afraid of. A phobia is something we're afraid of, and we have no logical, rational, or reasonable reason to be afraid of it. Okay?
How many people actually have a phobia of one kind or another?
Everyone in the world has a phobia of one kind or another.
Everybody has a phobia?
Everybody.
And some people may have 3 or 4 or 5 phobias.
Oh, yeah, or more.
What would you say is the most common phobia?
Arachnophobia, fear of spiders. And some, I mean, it's really interesting when I get a person that's afraid of something. The first thing I ask them, first thing I have to do is determine, is this a fear or is it a phobia? So I start asking them questions about it. And if the person looks, for example, a spider, and I say, have you ever been bitten by a spider? No, I won't get near them. They're icky, they're creepy, I don't like them. Have you ever thought that a spider was going to attack you? You know, like here we have brown recluses that may be on a table and they may charge you. No, they're icky, they're creepy. But their reaction, for example, like when I was in Canada, that's the only time I've ever seen a whole country, I swear, is afraid of spiders. And I've seen grown men stand on a table because there's a small spider on the floor. They're terrified of it. And that's the thing with a phobia, is you have that instant flight reaction and you've got to get away, no matter what.
So what is the fear of spiders called?
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia. So how do you desensitize yourself to a phobia?
You can do it by yourself. It's very difficult to do it by yourself. It's best to go into a trained hypnotherapist that can desensitize you, because what would take you years and years and years to do on your own, we can do in a matter of a session.
Okay, let's say if I'm scared to death of spiders.
Okay.
And spiders don't bother me.
Okay.
They don't. Snakes, give or take. I mean, I'm really not all that crazy about snakes. When I was younger, I could pick up snakes and fool with them. I don't want to do that now. But so how would you get over, somebody comes to you and said, I'm just deathly afraid of spiders. If I see one in the room, I have to run out.
Right.
How do you cure that?
What I would do is I would go ahead and put them into hypnosis, and then I would perform what's called circle therapy. And circle therapy is a desensitization, where what we do is we go ahead and we take it and build up the anticipation or the anxiety, and then relieve that anxiety, so that now when I see a spider or if I touch a spider or whatever, it no longer bothers me. Now you have to be careful with that, because if you don't know exactly what you're doing in the desensitization process, you can actually heighten it. So you don't want to do that.
So would you bring a spider into the room then with that person?
At some point, yeah, most likely. And when I have done it, I've actually brought in a tarantula, which is a big spider, and by the time I finish with them, they are holding it in their hands, they're playing with it, they can do a lot of stuff with it, and it doesn't bother them at all.
So that's the number one phobia.
Yeah.
What comes close to that?
Fear of drowning.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Fear of drowning, in my practice, it's been arachnophobia first, fear of drowning, fear of loss of control is another one that is really interesting. Claustrophobia, being enclosed, things like that. Those are the most common.
Okay, I've heard of many people who have claustrophobia.
Oh, yeah.
Some people that are afraid to get on an airplane, not because they're afraid of flying,
no,
but because they're enclosed in this tube and they don't feel that they could handle that for hours at a time.
Well, I'll tell you, the interesting thing about claustrophobia, it's not so much that I'm enclosed in something, okay? I have two things. One is I don't have an easy way out, okay, like in an airplane. The door closes, and you're probably not going to get the door back open again.
Or in an elevator?
Or in an elevator. Very, very similar. Where we really see it escalate is when there are other people in it, because the person with claustrophobia often says, I feel like they're taking my air. There's not enough air in here, and they're taking my air, and I don't want that. So
when you have claustrophobia, you feel that?
Yeah.
That they're taking your air.
It's interesting, when I was at Arizona State University, we put up a bubble in mass communication. And it was kind of like for interpreters theater. And it was just a plastic, great big huge plastic bubble that we built, and it was supported by air. So we've got 4 fans and a supporting thing. Plenty of air for everybody. We had one guy who had claustrophobia, literally had to take his hand and put it out the door, and he was fine as long as he had his hand out the door. He knew he could get out. But all the way through, he said, I feel like everybody in here is taking my air. And I go, how? When this thing is being supported with air, it's always being blown in. He goes, it doesn't matter. They're taking my air.
So how did you cure that? Or did you cure that?
We did, but it was through desensitization again. And it took him a little bit longer because there's so many places where this fear for him would crop up. It just wasn't in a plastic bubble. I mean, it was literally in an elevator, any place that was enclosed. He really had trouble with. And by the time we finished, he could do everything. And we started off with him, or finishing up with him actually, going up and down in an elevator, going in on airplane rides, stuff like that. Nothing bothered him anymore.
But so somebody listening, if they have a phobia, can you talk yourself out of this phobia yourself, or do you really need to seek professional help?
To be honest, I would say seek professional help. It is possible to do it. For example, one fear of loud noises. Okay, now that's kind of a common one, not as common as arachnophobia, but you can desensitize yourself to that by being near the loud noise, but for example, being under protection, like having a roof and walls around you, and then slowly inch your way out. But that's a long, slow process. And like I said, what we can do in a matter of a few sessions and get you over it could take you a few years.
So there is a phobia, a fear of loud noises?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
How many different phobias are there?
Okay, wow. You finally stumped me on one because I don't have the exact number, but there are literally thousands. And some of them you would laugh at because you go, oh, yeah, really, that's not a phobia, but it really is. And it's one of those things that what you and I would look at and say, why would you be afraid of this? To a person that has that fear, it's very real.
Yes.
I mean, it's terrifying for them. And,
Yeah.
Well, I saw it with my wife's son. I never knew he had a fear of clowns. Okay, so I was going through a whole bunch of stuff, and I found a stuffed clown, and I just set it on his bed. I thought it was nice. It was supposedly his at one time when he was a little child. I thought it was nice. You'd have thought I just wiped out a third world country when he walked in there and he found that on his bed. Oh, it was not pretty at all.
If you want more information on this, how can they contact you?
Give me a call, 888-604-9997, or visit my website at www.mohyp.com.
Okay, Dr. David Newman, RoseHeart Hypnotherapy Success Center, talking about phobias.
Yeah.
And you can't figure out what your phobia is, but you have one.
I'm sure I do.
All right. David, thank you so much for coming by. Drop me an email, something you'd like to hear, pepperpmissouri.edu. Bye-bye.